Yes, to that interesting moment. Are you ready? Yes, deep conversation, deep perspective. Hi, Alba, you're welcome. Good to see you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I've been seeing your pictures, and today I'm seeing you in person, and it's no different, just the hairstyle that has changed.
Yes, the locks have gone.
Yeah, but you look good all the same.
Thank you.
How has been your day so far?
Apart from a busted phone, it's been pretty good.
You can't trust those tech people. We can't trust them. Okay, so you are a lady of many crafts. You are a writer, filmmaker, and producer. Tell us, which talent did you discover first?
I would say writing. I kept a diary as a teenager right up until I was 20. Every day,
Wow.
I wrote about my thoughts and my life.
Okay.
And so I have these huge notebooks, stacks and stacks of notebooks. I had a fantastic English teacher called Mr. Chambers who really encouraged me.
Okay.
So writing was something I just did for fun. I mean, I was an artist as well. I painted fine art and I played the cello in an
Wow.
orchestra. So
Wow.
arts has always been something
That you really liked.
Yeah.
So, which subjects were you covering in your notebooks? What were you talking about?
everything, my thoughts
Your thoughts on...
on, you know, my friends, if I was crushing on a guy, if
Wow.
I saw something that I liked, my thoughts on things that came out on the news, discussions.
Okay.
And so when I look back, it's quite interesting because I'm suddenly meeting myself at age 14 and I'm reading what I wrote. And I thought at age 14, I'm like, who is this person?
Well, then you must have written a lot because...
Every day,
Every day.
every single day.
Okay. So how did you discover your other talents and passions?
Okay, so I studied journalism and PR.
Okay.
And when I finished, when I was younger, we used to go to Cuba for holidays. My father was Ghana's ambassador to Cuba.
Okay.
And Cuba had opened up relationships with Ghana during Jerry Rawlings's time.
Okay.
And so Ghana was sending students to Cuba. So I used to go to Cuba on holidays as a youngster. And then I decided that I wanted to stay and study. So I went to the language faculty of the university and I studied Spanish and Latin American literature.
Okay.
An Indian friend who studied in the same school with me had friends at the Cuban Film School, which was set up by Fidel Castro and Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And he took me to visit some friends of his, and I thought, this is what I want to do, filmmaking. That's my thing.
Okay.
So I applied to the film school. They have very stringent rules to get in. And I didn't get in. So I decided to go to Brazil to study folkloric ballet, which I did for a couple of years, and carnival and everything. Then I finally got into film school, and then I studied filmmaking and graduated as an editor.
Okay. But journalism and film school, they are not much different.
I think they are.
You think they are?
Yes. For journalism, we study journalism. I also think it depends on the kind of film school you went to, because I went to a film school where it was an anti-scholastic school.
Okay.
Students and teachers were on first name basis. The students and the teachers all lived in the same accommodation. You had access to your tutors whenever. I would have classes at 1 a.m.
Wow.
Sitting with a head of editing, smoking some cigarettes, having a couple of drinks, and discussing.
That's a great way to learn.
Yes. And so the school had this attitude of everything is here, take what you want out of it. It had a skeleton staff, but most of our tutors were filmmakers. So Francis Ford Coppola came to give directing classes. Roberto Perpignani, phenomenal Italian director, came. we had filmmakers from all around the world, including Usman Sembene.
Wow.
Was one of the first ones to came.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
and then Gaston Cabore
Okay.
came to do script writing. So we had all these phenomenal people from all over the world, and it wasn't a formal structure. It was, you're creative, you shouldn't be bound by barriers. Here it is, go for it. And that's what we did.
No wonder you have so much, talent and doing various things. So how did you master each of your talents? Because you have so many of them. Now you are a journalist, now you are an editor.
Well, I studied journalism, but I never practiced journalism.
Okay.
I call myself a writer.
Okay.
But journalism and PR was something I was thinking about, but then I switched and I moved to the Caribbean, and then I did languages and film.
As well. Oh, okay. So you are more of a writer.
I fell into writing by accident. I mean, professionally. When I came to Ghana, after I finished at Cuba, I graduated as an editor. I returned back to the UK, and I was working on independent productions, editing, and also working on production on set.
Yes.
When I moved to Ghana, I thought I was going to do the same thing when I got here, but I didn't take into consideration that it's a completely different environment.
Yes.
And the industry is structured differently. So I got here and it was like, okay, so what am I going to do? I made friends with a DJ at that time. His name is Daddy Bosco.
Yeah, Daddy Bosco.
So Daddy Bosco and I became friends. And I would talk about my trials and tribulations of trying to get settled in Ghana.
Okay.
And he said, if you write the way you speak, this should be it should be fun to read. So within about 2 days, I wrote about 8 pieces. And he took me to the Daily Dispatch. And Ben Efson read like the first paragraph of one story, and he said, you have a column. And so I found myself writing for a newspaper.
Okay, so you enjoy doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I wrote that column for many years. One day, a few years after I started writing, Ben Efson calls me and says, you have a call from the Nigerian embassy. I'm like, okay. So I call back, and I think it's like the Deputy High Commissioner, and he says, have you thought of writing a book? Because I have so many newspapers here I don't want to throw away because your article's in there. And so that led to my first book, The Imported Ghanaian.
Yes. A very interesting book, Imported Ghanaian. How imported are you?
Now I would say maybe not so much. But it was that thing of, you come here and you think you're Ghanaian. You've lived outside, you come, you think you're Ghanaian, and every Ghanaian is going to give you a reason why you are not Ghanaian. You don't speak, your accent isn't Ghanaian, you're this. And for me, there was a lot of emphasis on the way I looked. I was told, you don't look like a Ghanaian. And so I'm often told, oh, you look Senegalese, or you look Malian, you look this.
Zimbabwean, you look Jamaican.
Ugandan, Jamaican,
so
everything.
How should a typical Ghanaian look?
That is what I don't know, because I see Ghanaian women. I've had the opportunity to travel to every region in Ghana. All Ghanaian women are absolutely beautiful and have a whole array of looks.
Yes, that's it. That's the best way to describe it. A whole array
of looks.
Yes,
which are as African as each other. And so I don't know. So I often say, well, what does a Ghanaian look like? And then I get all these reasons that make absolutely no sense.
They do it all the time.
They do it.
So let's go into your filmmaking. You graduated from film school as an editor and worked on various independent films in Cuba and London before returning to Ghana.
Yes.
Okay. So what was the whole experience like training in Cuba?
I love Cuba. I lived there for several years. As I said, I studied at the language faculty at the university. And then I took a break. I went to Brazil. Before I went to Cuba, I was dancing semi-professionally.
Oh, okay. So you're a dancer?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I was with a folkloric group. We used to do Brazilian carnival, samba, salsa.
Hey, so you were wearing
frevo.
all those bikini and those feathers?
Those are called pasistas.
Okay.
Maybe a few times, but I do more folkloric
Oh,
ballet.
okay. Okay.
And you know, we had the opportunity to train with Ballets Africains from Senegal, who
Okay.
are an amazing, phenomenal
Wow.
folkloric ballet group. So I was in Brazil for a couple of years, doing that in the northeast of Brazil in Bahia, which has the largest black population, I think, outside of Nigeria.
Oh, okay. That must be very interesting. So you were practicing your Spanish, the one you've learned. You were speaking Spanish most of the time.
In Cuba, I spoke Spanish. Obviously, when I went to live in Brazil, I spoke Portuguese.
Oh, okay.
And so I have a couple of European languages under my belt.
Wow. So you learned Portuguese as well as Spanish.
Yes.
Wow. That's
And
interesting.
then, you know, at one point I got myself a scholarship to do an experimental editing course in
Wow.
Italy. So I needed to learn
And
Italian. But in the end, I didn't go. I ended up doing some work in Jamaica
Okay.
before returning to the UK.
Okay. So you worked in the UK.
Yes.
Being in school in Cuba. So how was it? Like the difference between working in Cuba, learning filmmaking in Cuba, and then working in the UK?
I don't know, because the skill is the same. I mean, if you want to be professional, you learn the skills. Cuba gave the opportunity for that. The other thing too is because it's a socialist country, the government is in charge of everything, and so it's different from trying to find work in the UK because it's a capitalist competitive system.
Yes.
So-
As compared to the communist system.
Yes, or
yeah.
Cuba are socialists. They would not claim to be
The communist. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's very interesting. So you've been working in Ghana and Nigeria.
Yes.
And which other African country?
So far, those two.
So far, those two. Ghana and Nigeria, the same in everything, I guess. We have a lot in common.
I think human beings have a lot in common in general.
Yes.
I like Nigeria. I like the hustle and bustle of Nigeria. I like the go-getting attitude
Okay.
of Nigeria. And I also had really nice work there. So, you know, and I lived mostly in Abuja.
Okay.
And then I have projects where I had to. So when I worked with MTV, yeah, that was in Lagos.
Oh, okay.
But my BBC work was always in Abuja.
Okay. I think the film industry in Nigeria is bigger than that of Ghana.
Yes, it is very
And they
big.
do a lot more.
They do an awful lot more, yes. But then you also have to take into consideration the population. They have to do a lot more to
Yeah,
feed the audience. Yeah.
Okay. You have a surprise audio. Somebody wants to tell you something. So let's all listen.
Okay.
Fiat Nasiru from Fab Teens. I'm one of the presenters of the show Fab Teens. Okay, so Fab Teens is a TV show which is now coming. It was made for young ladies, the young ladies around. Like there's nothing for us to voice out everything. So this show is almost everything about us, career, puberty, boyfriends, a whole lot of things, like basically for young girls. Yes, so this show was directed by Alba. She was the brain behind everything, and working with Alba has been like a great opportunity. I learned a lot of things. I never thought I could be a presenter, you know. I never thought I could be a presenter, but funny enough, I was able to do it and it was cool. Working with Alba was great. She's principled. When it comes to work, we are working. And when it's time to have fun, we are having fun. And like, it was really great. I really learned a lot from her and I can't wait for us to be out because 15 is going to be a blast. Like, thank you very much, Alba, for this opportunity. Like I'm really grateful. And guys, watch out. 15 is about to blow your mind. Just relax. We'll be out there soon and you'll really enjoy it. Bye.
Okay,
The
so
new
so you
Africa
you, you
is
had it.
fresh, creative, and energetic. And I love Africa Global Radio.
You had it from your student.
She's well. I wouldn't. Well, yes. Okay. Yeah. I.
So what do you have to say for yourself?
Okay. So about 10 years ago, I I I realized that not everybody was represented on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see teenagers. I rarely see children.
Mm-hmm.
And TV is a great tool for education and entertainment.
That's true.
At the moment, there across the world, there's this whole thing about diversity. There's a lack of diversity in Ghanaian TV.
That's true.
There are certain sections of society who make up more than maybe 10-11% of the population who we don't see
On
unless somebody's wagging some minister has gone to a school to tell them not to wear miniskirts or something like that. And so my first idea was to, because I love reading, was to marry these two things and come out with a magazine for teenage girls.
Okay.
I spent a couple of years getting a dummy ready. I went round to printers, I talked to people, and I realized that there was no infrastructure for this to be able to survive. I've spoken to other people who have brought out magazines, and within a year, it's died. You can't distribute properly, getting people to work efficiently, to hit deadlines is really problematic. So when we were shooting Sugar, Sugar 4,
Yes.
during one of my days off, which was a Sunday, my friend had arranged this spa treatment for me. So I went to this place and I was massaged and pummeled and scrubbed and
You don't really like it.
well, put it this way, it was so wonderful. I left with the spa shoes and left my shoes at their
then
place.
you enjoyed
It
it.
was so nice. I left with their shoes. They called. They were like, "Madame, your shoes." And she said, "But Alba, you're a filmmaker. Why don't you turn this magazine idea into TV?" And so started the journey of a TV show for teenage girls, but presented by teenage girls. The only people you see in the show are teenage girls.
Because now the millennials are right. They are on top now.
I don't think it's even that so much that I think television is so powerful as a reflection of yourself.
Okay.
You look on TV and you don't see yourself represented.
That's true.
I want young girls to be able to watch the program and go, I could do that. Because the teenage girls are presenters, Safia, Rachel, Paula, and Fidelia are young girls. Any girl can look at her and say, that's me.
Yes.
It's not
They can relate to what they
complete,
are doing.
but
yeah.
to relate to what they're doing and even how they look.
Yeah.
It's very important.
That's a bonus.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's it. Obviously, I think it's an innovative show. Sponsors don't think it's an innovative show. It's not something they want to put money into.
They'll come on later.
But you see, and this is one of the things, which you talked about Nigeria and the filmmaking. You can sell an idea. You can go somewhere and say, I have an idea for this. These are the logistics, and somebody could invest. In Ghana here, they want you to find money yourself, make it, and then once it's suddenly proven that, oh, this thing works, now everybody wants to jump on to take from it, not even to push it. Everybody wants to grab their, their share of it. And I think a lot of brilliant ideas in this country,
That's true.
across all levels of industry, die because when they need the support, everybody's folding their hands, waiting to see whether it's going to be viable or not. So it's taken a number of years. I mean, we've finished shooting 3 years ago. We're still trying to finish it up, but 2021, we're sailing.
So with your experience, Nigeria now have movies on Netflix and other huge platforms. Then how are we also going to get our movies on Netflix and then?
Well, we do have The Burial of Kojo was one on Netflix. I think Ghana has a few movies that have hit. But I think when you look at them, you'll find out that money came from external sources.
Okay.
I saw something on TV where somebody was, I think they were interviewing Majid Michel, and he was arguing, why are people calling for the government to come? What has the government done for the film industry? I think for me, like take something like television. If I were in charge of television, or if I were in charge, I would insist, because you have to build an industry, I would insist that TV stations have to, at least of what they put out, 70% of their content needs to be locally produced.
They keep discussing it, but we don't see any headway.
But it needs to
and
be,
film villages as well.
It needs to be enforced, because if you don't build an industry, then it's individual people on their own trying to do something. When you have an industry, we have teamwork, we have exchange of knowledge, we have exchange of skills, and then you move up. I know lots of people in Nigeria who are highly skilled, but it's because they have some structures in place for people to learn from each other, and
But some say we complain about the telenovelas and stuff, but we don't have movies of equal measure.
But how can we? Have you tried to get I personal experience trying to get this show on TV. I've been to TV stations where part of the deal is they're charging you maybe 4,000, 5,000 CDs for you to put your show on their TV station.
That's expensive.
It's incredibly expensive. And so there needs to, so you find, I don't know, your 60, 80, 100,000 somehow to shoot a decent production, and then you have to pay people, you have to run and find your own sponsorship, and then pay somebody, or maybe have a barter system or something. It makes it incredibly difficult.
And that may even affect your rights, because later you find them showing all those movies later without your consent. People have raised concerns about rights.
Well, I mean, when you live in a situation where laws don't seem to work, I know people who shot projects maybe for YouTube, like series for YouTube, and then they flicked on a TV station, and their show is being happily aired.
No, they can sue. It's not done.
It's not done. I think when you're at the point where, and also I don't know how developed entertainment law is in Ghana.
There are laws, but they just...
And I also think that you also think about the time and energy you're going to put in to chase a whole TV
That's,
station.
our system, our legal system is a bit
So
slow.
So we have all these hurdles
Yeah.
that are put in the way. They're not just there. There are people who are happy that hurdles are in the way.
Because they are benefiting from
Well,
those.
they're benefiting, but then the vast majority are not benefiting because, as we talk about these telenovelas, we've got young girls and young boys growing up. They're watching TV. They're watching Latin telenovelas, Indian telenovelas, which have nothing to do with their culture.
Nothing at all.
But there's also something else. When you put people who don't look like you, we need to even self-esteem as a black person, with all the racism and the negativity we have about who we are as a people, and then you bring somebody else's product and you put this on and you're telling people this is what you should aspire to,
And then we promote colorism and we complain.
and then we promote it. One of the things that was very important for me when I did Fab Teen, the girls were like, Auntie, can we wear makeup? No, I don't want weaves in anybody's head. Come as you are. Because they watch TV. Every presenter has a weave. Her face is contoured. Her face is beat to the gods. Huh?
I love that. The face is beat to the...
Yes, the face is beat to the gods. Her hair is on flick. Her skin is popping.
The nails.
The nails, everything. If there's a young girl sitting somewhere and she's watching this, and these are the only people that she sees,
The role
on
models
TV,
she's seeing.
not even role models. To be honest, I don't believe anybody in the public eye should be role model to anybody. If you're a singer, you're a singer. The role models should be their parents
Okay.
and their family members. It's not Rihanna's job to come and role model for you. She's getting on with her business. It's not Nicki Minaj's job to role model for you. Your role models are in your homes and the people closest to you. If you're watching TV and you see a certain aesthetic that's being projected as beautiful, and this is beautiful, and it has nothing to do with you, it affects your self-esteem as a person.
That is true. Alba, let's talk about your travels. You love to travel.
Yes, I do.
You love it's quite an expensive hobby.
It depends how you do it.
So do you follow up on stories when you travel, or you discover stories? What motivates you to travel?
I think, okay, going back, when I was in Brazil, I finally got into film school. Because I'd applied, I didn't get in, I went off to Brazil.
Okay.
I then got into film school, but I was still in Brazil. And so my father called me and said, listen, you're going to lose your scholarship unless you get to Cuba. And I said, but we're getting prepared for Carnival. So it was like, Carnival is important because Carnival is really big in Brazil. And, if you're with a samba school or something like that, you
With
prepare.
the drums, very colorful festival.
Yes, and you prepare for a long time. And so he said, she's preparing for Carnival, so she's a bit, what's she gonna do, school or Carnival? And the school director at that time, his name is Orlando Senna, a very famous, well-known Brazilian scriptwriter. He was the school director, and he said, she's at the School of Life, tell her to come when she's ready.
Wow.
And so I carnivaled, and then I went to film school. So traveling is the school of life.
That's true.
You learn things while traveling that you can never learn by being at home or by being in a classroom.
And that also gives you a different perspective.
Yes.
That gives you. So what motivates you or to visit a country? Like, what attracts you to another country to go? Or you just read about it and you decide to go?
Well, Brazil, I went to Brazil because obviously, as I explained earlier, I was doing dancing semi-professionally. I was with a ballet folklorico. One of my friends in the samba school went to Brazil for 6 months.
Okay.
He comes back and he says, we meet for drinks, and he's like, Alba, Brazil, oh my God, oh my God. And so I 3 weeks later, handed in my apartment, threw my stuff in storage, jumped on a plane, and as I was flying, I was like, what are you doing? But I landed in Brazil. I had an amazing time. In fact, I landed in Sao Paulo. I stayed with my dance teacher, Francisca, in Sao Paulo.
Okay.
And then I said, I'm going to Bahia, which is where all the black culture is. And I get to Bahia. She gives me the name of Birahe. She says, you get there, contact him, he'll sort you out. I arrive at Pelourinho, which is very famous in Salvador, which is where Michael Jackson went to do his music video with Olodum. So I arrive at that place at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to find this man, and somebody calls my name, Alba. And it's somebody I know from the UK.
Okay.
And he's in Brazil, and he says, well, come stay with me for the weekend, and then we'll sort something out. So I ended up staying in Salvador. I got a job. I studied capoeira. I danced until I got back into film school.
Okay, so care to share any valuable experiences you've had in your travels?
Okay, so
Being a global citizen.
It's always amazing. You always meet amazing people. My cousin was working in Kabul in Afghanistan. And one year I decided to visit her.
Afghanistan, just the name would scare people.
So Afghanistan has very few embassies around the world. And I know there was one in Ethiopia.
Okay.
So I flew to Addis with the intention of trying to get a visa while there. So I spent a day in Addis. I did my rounds, and I thought, no, you need more time. So why don't you move on to India, where I also had friends, and then try and get my visa there. And then I got my visa there, and then I flew to Kabul.
Okay.
And it was amazing. People were touching your skin to see if it came
You
off.
felt you didn't feel weird when people were touching you all over?
When there's a real difference between maybe going to the Middle East as a black person and then certain European countries. You feel hostility. With there was no, it was curiosity.
Oh, okay.
Who is this? Most of them have not seen a black person
So the
before.
feeling is different.
There's
Curiosity
different,
and then the hostility.
You sense it immediately. You know what it is. And for me, I'm like, I remember my cousin and I went to the Taj Mahal when we went to Agra, and everywhere you went, cameras would just whip out, and people would be snapping pictures of you.
Yeah, people like to take pictures at the Taj Mahal.
But of us. And she was getting really angry. Or sometimes you'll be standing there, and then you'll suddenly find a group of people standing next to you.
Without your permission.
Without your permission, because their friend is taking a picture, like take a picture with that black person. But me, having watched a lot of America's Next Top Model, as soon as I saw a camera, I started posing for them. I'm like, you have to do your job to teach these people about us,
You did a good job with that, traveling, being all alone, with no relatives around, and then you braved that. I would have felt awkward with people touching me all over. And you had your locks by then.
Well, the other thing too is, Afghanistan also has, the Taliban and people who will happily murder people. And so for me, the other thing is when you go into somebody's culture, it is important to respect the culture. So I was covered up. I covered up before I went out.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. Was it comfortable?
I loved it. I went to parties. I met people. There, and then when I was in India, I met some Kashmiri guys. And one of them invited me to spend Christmas with them in Kashmir. Obviously, they don't celebrate Christmas, but it was the Christmas period. And I lived on a houseboat, and I went trout fishing in the mountains. I went pony trekking in the mountains with the family. They took me to villages inside of Kashmir where I was the first black person they'd ever set eyes on. And it was,
You got your father worried with that?
The Afghanistan, yeah, my family were a little, but what I didn't tell anybody I was heading there. When I was there, that's when I announced it.
And what did they say?
What can you say? I'm already there.
Let's talk about your BBC World Drama series, Story. We all loved it. I listened to BBC. I love that story. That I love the natural accent, and then the way they go about the marketplace. They tell their story in a very simple manner. How was the experience for you?
It's an amazing experience. It's very well thought out. It's very detailed. So if I can just give you a little background.
Do.
I wrote and edited for 10 years.
Come and do some here.
Okay, so let me tell you the process and then see if you will ask me that question again.
Okay.
So it starts off with a research team. They go to several areas in Nigeria. They talk to people, they do interviews. They can spend up to 6 months researching.
Wow.
Before they come back and they put together a document. The writers, when I was writing at that time, 12 writers. The youngest was about 19, the oldest was about 65. Male, female, 6 women, 6 men. All the different religious backgrounds were covered. So the writers were people who covered a whole...
They have all the corners covered.
Then the research people come in. We have storyliners, we have story editors, we have producers, and we start breaking down this information they brought us. While we're breaking those down, the BBC will bring in lawyers and experts within the field who would come and spend 2-3 days with us. Again, breaking things down, explaining things to us, and telling us all the nitty-gritty and how we can get around certain issues. And then we spend 2 weeks literally just determining storylines and arguing, and Nurse Brown wouldn't do this because Montu this, and Chairman Rashid that, or Madame Philo this. We would craft out, and it's literally 2 weeks, maybe working like 12 hours a day, sometimes even more, just breaking everything down. And then we write. And then after it's written, we go on to the editing stage, and then it is not recorded in a studio. There's an actual sort of market exterior set up.
Oh, okay.
So it's literally,
but not really in the market.
No, it's you know how for certain things on TV they have a studio that they set up. Well, with
I've seen a studio like that with the Friends series.
Yes. And so with Story, they have a piece of land. Because as writers, we actually created a map. So that when we were writing, we knew that if you were walking down this street and you turned left, you would get to the textile section, and Madame Philo's shop would be there. So as writers, we needed to know what the world looked like so that our characters could move, around it.
No wonder you said if you tell me about it, then I would repeat the question about doing it in Ghana.
Because you need the writers to leave their life behind and come to a specific place and stay there for 2 to 3 weeks.
That's quite a lot.
So it's intense.
Yeah, very intense.
It's intense,
and you
and
need
focus.
a budget. You need a huge budget as well.
You do need a serious budget.
Okay, let's talk about your other series, Shuga and Wetin Dey. I've been watching it. Your themes are about sexual health on both.
Yes.
So why sexual health? Why did you choose sexual health?
Well, I didn't choose. The BBC chose. I'm a writer for them, so I don't determine what the topics are. I think they are important themes, and the themes change, but they choose the themes, and it is our jobs as writers to bring it out. With Shuga, never worked on any of the writing teams.
Okay.
But I worked on production. So the first Sugar I worked on, I was the script supervisor.
Okay.
On the second Sugar I worked on, I was the first AD, which meant that I ran the set.
Okay. Okay. So they were talking about HIV/AIDS most of the time.
Yes.
Why HIV/AIDS?
Well, why not? Um, I think also the other thing is you think about Africa's population, and we're continually told that the youth make up a huge part of the population. I don't know about other African countries, but I know at least in West Africa, our attitude to talking about sexual reproductive health,
It's a no thing.
you know, in a lot of spaces is a no. Where are these people going to learn this from?
Oh, they don't tell us anything.
Don't tell us. The parents are not talking to their children about it. In school, you know, we did, for instance, on our teen show, the Fab Teen Show, we had an episode which was called the Let's Talk About Sex episode. And we had a group of teens in discussing about where they learnt about sex. And even when they talk about their teachers talking about it, it's very, but you people know what I'm talking about. And,
now.
you know, and so with shows like Shuga and Wetin Dey, you get a chance to craft it and talk about these really important issues.
I've seen the nightclub scenes, the
Yes.
short
I
dress.
shot the nightclub scene. I directed that.
So you did not sleep. You were also in the club.
I was in the club, and interestingly enough, once we got the club location, I had about 100 extras.
Wow.
The lighting crew went in. It took them about 5 hours to light, and then
Almost half day.
yeah, and then we, the crew and the cast came in. You make sure everybody's clothing is, you know, as you want, and then we shot, and we probably took a day to do that, but it lasted about 1 minute on screen.
That's so beautiful. Okay, let's conclude with your books, your
Yes.
2 books, the
Yes.
Imported Ghanaian,
Imported.
the Imported Ghanaian,
Yes.
and then A Place of Beautiful.
Nonsense.
I like the second one, the title.
Yeah.
Okay, so which one is your favorite?
That's a difficult question. I like A Place of Beautiful Nonsense. The Imported Ghanaian resonated. I think it was really like the first of its kind. And a lot of people contacted and they were like, oh, I thought I was the only person that felt this way. I'm the only person who
That
had
felt
these
out of place.
or who had these experiences. A Place of Beautiful Nonsense is really about, if you decide to stay, you need to choose your battles. You need to look for that silver lining, which is the beauty within all the nonsense. And so that's why that title. So A Place of Beautiful Nonsense is about staying and choosing your battles.
Is there a page that describes a bit of what we'll get if we purchase one on Amazon? Because I've been following. I know you're selling them online as well.
Everything. Can I say everything?
Everything. So you don't have a special portion to readers.
Well, I mean,
I saw a portion about Reggie telling you something. Was it Reggie Rockstone? I saw something Reggie, or not in the book.
It might have been another Reggie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the Imported Ghanaian is like, you can say they're like little vignettes.
Okay.
And they come with a little cartoon scene.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I really like cartooning. I'm not very good, but you know.
But it is good. I've seen them. Very good.
So
Was it done by a Ghanaian or by yourself?
okay, so this is one of the things that I also really like about Ghana. I used to really get upset about it, but you end up learning to do a lot of things yourself.
Yeah, you should.
Because you
not get it the way you want it, and you'll be looking like a tax master. So you just want to do it.
And not only that, I mean, for instance, a lot of artists have to do things from their own pocket. And you try, so for instance, I met a cartoonist and I said, can we collaborate? You do the cartoons, I'll do the words, and we will split profits. He wasn't interested in that. It's like, either pay me and let me go
Yeah,
about my business.
That's what they want.
And so it gave me the opportunity, even though I was complaining at the time, but it gave me the opportunity to learn how to cartoon.
That's beautiful.
And so I was able to, do that myself. So that was the positive side.
Okay, so you did it for both.
Yes. Oh, so by the time I got to a place of beautiful nonsense, can you see I was now doing shadowing and, I was doing shadows. I was,
and I can
shading.
see Ghana medawase.
Yeah, that's when I was asking Ghana, because people are so sometimes, unhelpful. It puts you in a position where you can learn a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, that's nice to be able to learn new skills.
So you said that both books are your favorite. You love both.
Well, I wrote them, obviously, so I think they're both good books.
Yeah, I know they are good books. I know they are very good, and it takes a lot of hard work to do that. So what do you have to tell upcoming young Ghanaians who want to write books, who want to go through what you've been through and still remain as confident as you are now?
Well, I think anytime you do any artistic work, you need to be, once you put your work out there, you have to open yourself up to critique.
Yes.
I've had really horrible things said about me because of the Imported Ghanaian.
Wow.
There are Ghanaians who are furious that, I'm selling I'm selling Ghanaians to the white people, and, I don't like Ghanaians.
Yeah, I did not see it that way.
But there are a lot of people who actually saw it as me being negative about Ghanaians. I think also another thing is a lot of it is written tongue in cheek, which is something that I think an awful lot of people here don't understand. In Britain, this thing about wit is
irony.
Irony is a very British thing.
Yeah.
It's not so much so here. So
Sometimes we take things too serious.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think anywhere you go, there are things that people. But I think one of the things we do have here is that we take ourselves very seriously as a people. We are good at laughing at other people, but laughing at ourselves,
We find it difficult.
is a little bit
We are
difficult.
sensitive to that.
Well, yes. So I'm sure that led to some people feeling as if they were being attacked.
I talk to friends about massaging the insecurities of people, which I'm not in the mood for. We have to stop massaging the insecurities of people and just tell them the way it should be. And I think that will help us a lot.
Well, the thing is, people need to also be ready to receive something. If you give something that someone's not ready to receive, I mean, for instance, you see somebody throwing rubbish. I get insulted regularly for this, but I'm like, keep your rubbish with you, dispose of it properly. Do you sleep here? Those kinds of things. So, and even, have you noticed that even when something happens and you want to say your piece, there are people who, it's okay, calm down. This idea of peace, I think in Ghana we are so hooked on this idea of peace that we feel that everything, you shouldn't allow anything to bubble up. It means we're being peaceful, but and we seem to think that peace is the absence of violence or
That's
argument.
not right. There are certain things we must speak truth to power.
But peace, if you come home and you don't have electricity, you are not at peace.
Never.
If your place is filthy, your gutters are, with these rains that we're having now, and people's
How
livelihoods
can you
being
even have
washed-
peace being sick?
Yes, so this idea of peace meaning the absence of violence is something that we need to change. You cannot be at peace if you're not comfortable.
Alba, it has been an interesting conversation. I wish we could go on and on and on. Thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We are happy to have you. It's been an interesting conversation.